Arc Raiders is an extraction shooter. You drop into a ruined world, you gather resources, and then you try to escape before someone or something kills you. And I think that's what makes Arc Raiders stand out from its competitors. It's this blending of a PvE, the player versus environment, and a PvP, the player versus player. That blending really does a lot here. I'm Vadd, and here in my Arc Raiders review, it's a little different from my regular work because Arc Raiders is a live service game. Please understand that a live service game is not a fixed product. It's a games as a service model that is designed for the developers to provide continuous updates, additions, events, and just more features to keep players engaged over months and, if things go well, years. Here I've taken the time to do everything that Arc Raiders has to offer before I put this review together. Arc Raiders feels like an adventure. The art, the music, the sound design, it can all really pull you in fast. Every run feels like it could be the start of a story. Some runs end fast when you die early, and others stretch past that 20 minutes, and all of a sudden it feels like you're the star of a big budget action movie. When you survive a long mission with your team, you all feel like the heroes. When you die in those opening minutes, you feel like a background character in someone else's story. And I think this is a reflection of good design. The world feels alive even when you fail. Arc Raiders takes place in a post-apocalyptic world full of machines that seem to have gone rogue. You'll be facing everything from massive Walker robots to these tiny little snitch drones that just call in backup. The enemy variety is going to be forcing you to play smart. You're going to be hiding, rolling into shadows, waiting for patrols, and then moving on. Every step has a feeling of danger. And sometimes you make it into a building thinking you'll find loot, but instead you'll find it's already been ransacked. You move on, you're low on time, you're trying not to die. The tension never really goes away. Arc Raiders is the kind of game where even silence feels loud. I think the sound design in Arc Raiders does a lot of the heavy lifting. You'll hear distant gunfire, sometimes some footsteps maybe behind you, above you, below you, the faint buzzing of drones. It's all layered just perfectly. You can tell where things are by listening, and it's absolutely excellent at the sound design. And Arc Raiders doesn't really need you to memorize maps. Drop in, explore, and try to make it out. You can load in with a free basic loadout. This way, if you die, you don't lose everything. And I think that small choice lets you experiment and actually enjoy the game instead of fearing every fight. Even when you do fail, you will still earn experience points. And safely back at your base, you have Scrappy, who's generating some basic resources for you. All of these combined into design make it feel forgiving and not punishing. I think these design choices are good, and ultimately, I think they encourage taking more risks. You might be feeling like you will fight more, explore more, and just actually enjoy the game instead of sweating every second you'll just lose everything, as that's just not the case. I think Arc Raiders has lowered the standardized stress that an extraction game tends to have. The movement here is smooth, the menus tend to make sense, the maps feel handcrafted, not repetitive. They're big maps, they're huge, but they're not empty. So you can finish a run in as little as 5 minutes or stretch it up to 20 or a little more if you want to explore. You can go entire matches without seeing another person, just hearing the faint gunfire somewhere far away. I think this emptiness likewise builds tension, but also a little bit of calm, which is kind of a rare combo. This exact balance and mix, the tension, the pacing, and the variety keeps Arc Raiders fun. It's not just about getting loot, it's about what happens along the way. Arc Raiders' success is because its core focus and direction is PvE. The main event is the player versus the environment. Some of the enemies will about one-shot you and require teaming up with other squads to take down. These team-up moments are memorable in a major way. PvP exists, but the player versus player doesn't dominate the entirety of the experience. Sometimes you meet players and trade shots, other times you meet and just nod and pass each other and move on. The psychos don't always kill you on sight. You can use proximity voice chat to call out maybe friendly, and sometimes that actually works. I think this alone sets it apart from most multiplayer games. Ultimately, I find the PvE enemies are far too weak. I think Arc Raiders needs to make the PvE enemies more dangerous. Over time, you'll continue to unlock stronger weapons that make most enemies pretty trivial. The Arc Raiders needs much tougher PvE opponents and more variety. Currently, there are only a handful of enemies that all respond to your player in very, very identical ways. Hey, listen, let me know what kind of runs you've had on Arc Raiders. If you're new here, consider checking out more of my work or joining the channel members and Patreons to support more reviews like this one. Thank you. And you know what? The Arc Raiders looting is surprisingly fun. You'll sorts through a really diverse set of containers, drawers, wrecked cars, and broken machines. You'll find things like rusted tools, toasters, and just random scrap. And yes, that sounds boring, but they mostly matter. You'll be using most everything you pick up to craft, recycle, or sell. It'll have something you can do with it. You can craft fancy items like a grappling hook and cloaking devices and gadgets that just give you more options every run. I really think the maps are well designed. They have this hopeful yet obviously ruined feel. There's these rolling green hills, collapsed buildings, and soft lighting just cutting through some dust. It's strange to call a wasteland beautiful, but at times it is. Each map feels unique and has a solid change to player rhythm. The maps all share the same uneasy move. Every step feels risky. Every quiet moment feels like the calm before trouble. Arc Raiders combat feels sharp. I think the healing's a little slow, which can make fights be tense, and oftentimes winning means picking your fights and not just spraying bullets. Ultimately, I worry about balance over time. Some players have heavy armor and top-tier gear that makes the fights decidedly one-sided and can feel unfair. I think this could grow into a huge problem if that gap widens too far. Right now, as things stand, I think Arc Raiders here in the opening, the chaos feels fun. The chaos of combat feels engaging. Let's talk about value for money. Unlike similar titles that are free to start up, Arc Raiders cost money up front. And with that price comes expectations. For me, after buying my game, I'm expecting to not encounter fake virtual tokens bought with real money, with multiple layers of conversion friction to erode value, and psychological manipulations with tiered bundles, fake bonuses, and the always classic leftover traps. You know how when no exact quantity buys a thing, so you always have some leftover sitting useless trying to entice you into another purchase. After paying into Arc Raiders, you will be greeted with overpriced digital extras. Yes, you'll need to spend more money to get the seasonal cosmetic packs. I think it's really important to understand that Arc Raiders is a live service game. This means the core business model fundamentally misaligns developer incentives with player enjoyment. It doesn't matter how good Arc Raiders is right now. The games as a service model is always an update away from predatory monetization. In a perfect world, continuous updates, new content, events, and features keep players engaged indefinitely if successful. To be clear, obviously developers aren't inherently evil. What they are is beholden to short-term profit mandates and profit growth obsession. Historically, live service games prey on the hope of endless fun, but eventually deliver pay-to-play progress traps and compulsive monetization systems. I don't know how Arc Raiders will evolve as a live service game, but right now, I think the core of Arc Raiders has strong ideas, cool styles, good gunplay, and an excellent mix of PvE and PvP. Arc Raiders surprised me. It's stylish, it's smart, and it's easier to enjoy than some of the competing extraction shooters on the market. Arc Raiders doesn't punish you for playing, it gives you space to make mistakes, learn, and ultimately build memories. I think that balance between pressure and play makes Arc Raiders stand out. Arc Raiders is awarded a 4 out of 5. I do not recommend.